Hello friends, Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. I have a mandolin that's in need of repair, but this video is just going to be kind of based on the mandolin, but it's really not about the mandolin, if you will. I'll show you what we got to work on here and what we have to do, but what it really needs is a special tool, and therefore that's what the video will be about. Let's take a look. It is a Madeira Mandolin, or I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll let you figure that part out. And I've never seen one like it before. It says by Guild. Serial number 1482, model M300. But anyway, it's a double point mandolin. It doesn't appear to be any problem when you first look at it. But you can see the bridge is off of it, and the reason I took the bridge off of it is because the top sinks in. I went inside of it with the camera, and sure enough, there's two braces, a treble and a bass bar brace. Both of them are pulled loose up at the upper area here. Well, to fix this correctly, you really need to take it apart, because working through the F-holes is just nearly impossible, and to get it jacked back up and and all that, I mean, you could get lucky and you could spend a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours working on it, and you might get lucky. But on the other hand, you could just waste a lot of time, and time's money, and I'm working for customers, etc. and so forth. So I gave the customer two options. I said, one option is I can take it apart. It's going to be a big job, a lot of hours, 5-6 hours minimum at $60 an hour, and put it back together, but then it would be perfect, and it would be fixed right. Well, he didn't really want to go that route, which I can't blame him. I mean, I don't, it looks like a decent mandolin, but I don't know that it's a real high-end mandolin, The other route is a simple fix, and that is, let's just put some posts in here where it can't go down any further. But the problem with putting posts in there, well, besides the fact that the posts don't help the sound any, they really do make it a little more harsh sounding. They don't really, work real well. But they will stop the problem. The mandolin will become playable again, and if you're using it to learn on, or if some youngster's using it or whatever, it's perfectly good for that. It would be structurally sound is what I'm trying to say. But the problem with even putting the posts in there is that this top has sunk. It doesn't look like it's sunk very much, but this part here is below that part there. It doesn't look like it too bad in the video. It's pretty close, actually, and it's even fairly close by eye. This side here is sunk compared to this. When you put the strings on it, it sinks quite a bit. So putting a post in there, it's how long does the post need to be? Well, if I make it to this length, you can't hardly stand a post up inside there easily and raise the top, because there's a lot of pressure on that top. It took a while for it to get into that shape, and it doesn't want to go back up, okay? So you need some kind of a jack in there to lift it up and then put your post in. That would be your optimum solution. Sure, you could put a post in here the way it is and jack it in there as tight as you can jack it in there, and that would work technically, but it wouldn't raise it up back to where it should be. So that's what the video is about, is how could we raise this up back to where it should be? Well, have you seen this tool? If you work on violins, you've probably seen this tool. This is a sound post tool. It's for measuring the length of a sound post. You put it inside the F-hole, you lift this up, you lock it in place, and now you can measure how long of a sound post you need. I use this tool quite often when I'm setting up violins. Well, the other day I was working on a violin that had a cracked top, and once again it was a situation where it would be much easier just to fix it without taking it apart, and it would save the customer a lot of time and money. And in my opinion, it's just as good a fix. Sure, you can't put the cleats in there, but I think cleats are highly overrated and highly overused. Especially if you're using a good wood glue. Well, anyway, bottom line, I the problem with that, fixing that crack, was that part of it had sunk down. So I reached in there, inside there with that, I lifted up the part that sunk down and I locked it in place. And that piece was light. It was easy to lift up and lock it into place. And then I could squeeze it together, put the glue in the crack, squeeze it together with a top clamp, and everything was perfect with this still in there holding it up. Perfect. Worked great. But this isn't strong enough to lift this. I can tell you for sure. It takes quite a bit. It's even pretty hard to lift it by your finger. Okay? It just doesn't want to go up. So enter this. And you think, well, that's the same thing. Well, it is sort of. It is pretty much the same thing. But this one is a RSW design, and so it's a little bit different. This one, the body here is aluminum. This tubular frame that this piece slides in is aluminum. Well, that's not going to be real strong if you have to put a lot of torque on it. This one is some sort of a surgical steel. I don't know exactly what it is, but it was from some lab or something where I got a bunch of this tubular steel. And I just happened to have that laying around. These heavy hooks, believe it or not, came off of clothes hanger wire, but not your standard little simple clothes hanger. It's the kind that is in Walmart, on those plastic hangers, but the top is just a hook, and that's from pretty stiff wire. It's pretty stiff. We had a bunch of that laying around here, so I cut that up, and that's what I'm. Well, the camera ran out of storage space, so I had to unload a bunch of files. Now I'm back to this again. But I was telling you about these heavy metal pieces. They're coat hangers from Walmart, and they're just the hook part of the coat hanger, and it's very stiff wire, so I rebent it to my purpose here. And then these two little brass deals, you can, if you're a hunter, you probably know what those are. Those are just 22 bullet casings, and I cut them off shorter, and that will spread this stress out instead of just having a wire poking into the top. Now you have a flat plate there to lift the top and and push against the bottom. This piece of steel here is big enough to go, I bored a hole in it big enough to go over the tube, and small enough so that this wire would go through the end. So it's bored large up to a certain point, and that way this can sit down on there, and as you tighten this, you can see that it lifts this one up. So, because we're pulling it up like that. But anyway, it really seems to be working pretty good here. It's time to put it to the test. Let's see if the new tool actually does function. Here we go. You'll probably see this whole repair in a video later on, but right now we're just going to show this part and see how this works. We gotta get this in here, and gotta get it to the right shape first. So gotta get it down a little bit there so we can get it in there. Okay, now we're in there. And I'm just going to put this tool right about here where it's right under this end of the bridge. And then we just start tightening it down. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, just like on anything else. And I did this earlier and it lifted this. Right now this is below this if, it's not even with this. So we can tighten this up like so. I wanted to find a wing nut that would fit this, but I didn't have any. It would have been handy because I think you could just turn this by fingers. It's not hard to turn. And now this is already pulled up almost level. And I'm just looking across it to see if it's totally level, and it's almost there. I don't want to go much above it, but I definitely want to get it level if I can. Okay, pretty close. It's probably still a little bit low. pretty level. This part here may actually even be slightly higher than this now, which is good. So I'm going to call that good right there. Now I can take this tool, see, and go inside and measure how long of a post that I will need. So try to get in there about where I want the post to go, about right there, I think. Fairly close to where the bridge is, but not quite at the bridge. And then that should be the length of the post I need. So hope you enjoyed this quick video on how I made a new tool to raise the top on a mandolin. Thanks for watching.